Hey everybody, it's Chris, and tonight we're looking at the fourth of the Royal Line discs from Latitude64. This is going to be the Grace. Now the Grace is another high-speed driver, has a 2.2 centimeter rim width, so just a little bit slower than the Rive at 2.3 centimeters, and also not as overstable. So if you have a slower arm and the Rive was just a meat hook for you, this should be a little more accessible. For me it was definitely a thrown flat. It was going to flex out and come back. That's at my approximately 400 feet of arm distance. Although this was breaking that, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But let's talk about the plastic. If you didn't watch my Rive or Trust review, this blend of plastic for the Royal Line release is fantastic. It's very grippy. It looks shiny and like it's going to be slick, but it's super grippy. The finishes on these discs are very clean, which gave me a lot of confidence. I thought I was going to, when I was gripping these discs, I knew I had a good grip. I knew they were going to come out nicely. So it sounds like I'm selling plastic. Maybe I am, but in general, I just think this is a very premium product, so I would recommend it. That said, about the disc. I would put this in the category, you're going to see me compare it to a Trespass. I'd put it in that family. Trespass, Sword, Flow, in that realm. It's not as fast as a Defender or a Raider, and it's going to flip more than a lot of those discs, but distance-wise, it goes. It's a little bit slower than some of those, so again, slower arm speeds are going to have more access to it. But I will say this is the longest disc I've thrown in the last 2 years for sure. And maybe not for sure, but I'm pretty certain on that. You're actually going to see on a 1,066-foot hole, I threw it twice, and I had the easiest third shot to get in range for my birdie putt that I've had on that hole in the last 3 years. That said, I actually had a lot of trouble reviewing this disc. I had heard online that it was going to be a hyzer flip machine, and arguably it still is. Maybe it's just angle control. But the first time I threw it, it just stayed on hyzer and faded out super early. And then I over-adjusted, of course, and torqued it over, and it faded out early. So I think this is angle dependent. That is not a bad thing, and maybe it's even a good thing. But what I found was when I was throwing this well, I threw it really well, and when I wasn't throwing it well, I threw it really not well. So I'm going to not talk about it so much. I'm going to say it is comfortable in the hand, nice clean rim feel. Again, Trespass, Flow, Sword type feel. And for me, just big distance. But I'm going to go to the video so you can watch some of that. And as always, if you have questions or comments, please put them below, and I'll get back to you. So I know that's pretty vague, but let's go with it. See you later. Alright, so out to the field we go. This is my first throw with the Grace. I was really expecting this to turn over and go toward that basket out in the distance. Instead, it stood up and faded out. And here is my most common overreaction. Anti-release into a headwind. Of course, it's going to go right into the ground. Neither of these throws is included to say anything bad about the disc. Actually, both of them are to show I was learning how to control the disc. And this is another example. On the left, I turned it over too much. It's going to end up in the trees on the right side. On the right, too much hyzer. It's going to drift left off target. This is me learning how to control the angles of the disc. Here is a step in the right direction. A little more height, a little bit of flex on the release. That height allows the disc to get a full reverse S-curve, that fade at the end. Here, just a lot more hyzer. That hard low snap allows the disc to stand up and then follow that hyzer path toward the basket in the distance. On this one, more height, a little bit of flex, and height I thought was a key component. It allowed the disc to get a full flight. It allowed the fade to come in naturally to give the disc a good finish. Let's compare it to the Trespass. I think these discs are a similar type of disc. They're going to be high speed, a little bit of turn on the high speeds. As you can see, they turn right just a little bit, and then a nice fade at the end. The Grace was thrown a little bit higher, but you can see a similar flight out of them nonetheless. Here's another example of it. Trespass is on the bottom, thrown a little bit more tilt, so you're going to see a little more drift, but similar style of flight from both of them. Drift right, fade left, thrown right hand, backhand. Now let's exaggerate that. The next three throws are going to be much higher, and they're going to be intentional anti-releases. So they are going to be forced over to the right. What I found was the Grace, especially on these lines, is just a little bit less stable on at the high speed. So the high speed stability, it wants to turn. High speed turn is going to be present. It's going to drift farther to the right, which is going to cause it not to come back as far to the left. Here is a mistake. The Trespass is actually thrown very well, but you can see the Grace was just tilted too hard. And because I tilted it so hard and not enough height, it never had the chance to fight back in bounds. It's going to go OB. That was on me. And the reason I included that is because I threw the Trespass well on both of these videos, but here's the correction on the Grace. I gave this one enough height that it was able to have a full flight and flex back into bounds at literally the last second. It's almost out of bounds, but put me in position to score on this hole. Gave it just enough height to correct. And here was the benefit of me learning this disc. All that trial and error. Here's hole 6. It's 1,066 feet. That first big flex just over the fence to come back to the middle. And then the second one was just a pull, a hard pull that drifted a little bit right and fades back to the center. And it puts me in a position to throw a bite up shot. This is the easiest third shot I've ever had in this hole. Easiest birdie by far I've ever had. Maybe not easiest putt, but just easiest overall. I included this shot for fun. The goal was just to flex it around the corner and get it to fade toward the pin. Faded just a touch early, but I was still in jumper range out of the woods, so that was kind of fun. Don't usually have a chance at the 2 on this one. Comparison to the Rive is on the right. As I said, it's a little bit faster, a little more overstable. As you can see, I don't have the arm speed to flip it up as well, so it's going to stay in that pure hyzer the whole time, fade out left early. Whereas the Grace flips up, pushes forward, and actually fades into a position that gives me a chance for the birdie putt on this hole. To wrap up, the Grace is a 2.2 centimeter rim driver, which makes it pretty fast, but that high-speed turn or understability at high speed should make it more accessible to slow arms, while making it a nice hyzer flip or turnover disc for bigger arms. If you like this review or found it informative, please feel free to like it, share it, or even subscribe to the channel, and as always, thanks for watching.